Hello, my name is Francisco and I'm an actor for historical characters. And this is Theatron, a channel about history and theater. And today we talk about the tragedy. What is tragedy? According to Aristotle, who explains the tragedy in his book Poetics, the tragedy comes from the dithyrambs, which mentioned in the first episode the origins of the theater were songs to honor Dionysus. The term tragedy means as much as a song to the goat. Tragos means goat and ode, song. There are three theories why it was called tragedy. Probably because the winners of the Dionysia were given a goat, or because the satires are so goat-like, or another theory is that the sacrificial goat was brought to Dionysus before the agon started. We don't know for sure, but what we do know is what kind of content the tragedy should have. They dealt with both philosophical and religious issues, like the question of existence, the individual and the world, man and gods, crime and punishment, character and fate. To understand better, let's ask Aristotle himself.
Η τραγωδία είναι η απομοίηση μιας αξιότομης και μεγαλοπροπούς και ολοκληρωμένης δράσης, η οποία δια της γλώσσας γίνεται ευχάριστη, παρασυσσωμένη μέσω των πράξεων των ήθοποιων και όχι μέσω των αφήσεων τους. Ως αποτελέσμα προκαλεί ήκτο και ο φόβος στο κοινό, ώστε η πράξη ψυχική κάθαρση.
By complete, Aristotle means that a tragedy can stand alone independently of other works. In greatness, he understands that the stories should be about special characters, like heroes or royal families, who fall into catastrophe through murder, betrayal, or worse fates. The effect it is supposed to have to the audience is called catharsis, which in Aristotle's interpretation is a soul cleansing. By watching painful or frightening scenes, we can release our emotions, a soul cleansing. So we are given closure and once again can be a functioning member of the society. According to Aristotle, the tragedy consists of the following 6 elements: plot, character, cognitive ability, diction, melody, and spectacle. The plot is the most important element of all. Aristotle called it a myth, a conflation of events, which, especially in tragedy, is based on the imitation of reality and action. The plot requires a complete arc with beginning, middle, and end, whereby the ending must not allow any open question, cliffhanger, in order to be perfect in form. The length of the story should be digestible for the viewer, but still have a certain size, and therefore beauty, without being artificially extended by banal passages. The content of the tragedies should be of universal nature, so that everyone in the audience can sympathize without falling into triviality. After the plot, the characters should be considered the second most important element. The tragedy has 2 characteristics. Firstly, the clear subordination to the plot. According to Aristotle, there can be a tragedy without characters, but no characters without a purposeful plot. And second, the portrayal of better people than they actually exist. This must be idealized and capable on the first place, although weaknesses are human and permitted, but the character as a whole must fit into the fateful plot. In order to achieve this, the cognitive ability plays an important role. It ensures that the thoughts and expressions of the respective characters are in harmony with the character traits and the plot, so that they are recognizable to the viewer. This should prevent contradictions from arising and the whole plot from leading aimlessly into the void. In order for this to permeate from the actor to the audience, language is required. This should be pleasant, not difficult to understand, and please the audience. For this purpose, one can use a variety of instruments such prose and verse, rhyme, slang, monologue, and dialects. Melodies play a decisive role in the perfection of speech. It was much more than the musical score of the piece, but contains the whole spectrum of sounds, which unites with the language through rhythm and thus round up the tragedy. The last element Aristotle mentioned in his work is the spectacle. In Aristotle's opinion, this purely visual element consisting of stage, costume, and props was an aid to the spectacle. In Aristotle's eyes, abuse of this element was cheap showmanship. Because in his opinion, a real tragedy had to be able to touch a blind person. Aristotle also wrote a book on comedy, but this book is unfortunately lost through the ravage of time. Who Aristotle was, we will discuss that in a future video. The next time we meet, we will talk about the comedies and the satire play. Until then, break a leg.